Okay, hi everyone. A very good evening. Hi, Aditi. Good evening. Hi, Nilay. So, is my voice is loud and clear to you all? Once confirm me. Is my voice is loud and clear there? Loud and clear. All right. Great. So let us get started then. So, can anyone do a recap, or can you just post me the topics that we have learned yesterday? What are the topics that we have learned yesterday? And if I given any tasks, that also you can just post it on the chat box. Let us do a quick recap, and then we will get into today's session. Yes, Aditi. Hastu shall come back there. Data structures in Python. Yes, list, sets, dictionaries, tuple, right? You studied data dictionaries, right? So how do we choose between list, sets, tuples, and dictionaries? It will take 1 or 2 minutes to type it and send it, but that's okay. How do we choose between list, set, tuple, and dictionaries? You can post it on the chat box. Just refer, if you have taken any notes, just refer yesterday's notes, and you can just type it and send it. You can give a complete description, maybe completely. Based on dimensions or not, etc. Is that what I mentioned yesterday, Sush? Based on dimensions, is that what I mentioned yesterday? Let's think on it. So Pratyush, no restrictions in data list. We have to find unique words. Sets. Great, Pratyush. That is right. So Supriya, list no restrictions in data, duplication is allowed. Okay. Set if only, wonderful. Tuple, great. Supriya clearly explained. Appreciate it. Wonderful. Galton, one dimension heterogeneous data type, allow duplicate elements, indexable. Yes, Galton. I think Ungarla, you are speaking about the properties of list, but I'm just expecting how we differentiate between these data structures. At what time I have to choose between these different data structures. Deepen tuple generally to avoid duplicate elements. Store in a container like a variable or object to process certain. Right, you're right, Deepan. Appreciate it. The changer plus another thing is that list consumes more memory and tuple consumes less memory. Okay. Dictionaries cannot contain duplicate keys, but they can contain. Yes, that is right. Aditi, list is used when we want to full control and perform all the operations if we want. Right. 1 minute. So if you want unique data, then we use it. Dictionary is used when we want to create. Yes, right, Aditi. Wonderful. Great. Appreciate all your responses. So whenever we are speaking something on the session, so better, I got only few responses, but I expected many, but it's okay. So just keep, taking notes though. So that should be helpful because all the notes, whatever I'm speaking, I'm not giving it over there, but some points to be noted, you can just note it down when I'm just explaining during the session. Right. So data structures we discussed, and then what we discussed after data structures, what we discussed. Pandas, right? That is different libraries. So what is a library? What is a library? Library, is it a collection of data? Manthan, want to check it? Is it only set of functions? I said Ungarla. Set of functions, okay. So Priya, pandas and how to read different files, okay. But still, have not got any right explanation of libraries, which I mentioned yesterday. I'm expecting the same term what we have learned yesterday. What is a library? Right, the set of methods or functions. Anyway, set of methods, I think you have already said. Sorry, Ungarla has already said set of methods. And two other terms I mentioned. Great, Harsh. Wonderful. Great, Srisha. So Harsh has given me the right answer. Good observation, Harsh. So set of methods, attributes, and its own data types, we call it as libraries. Great. So why we have to rely on pandas library? Why we need pandas? Dr. Leelavati, sorry, I missed yesterday's recording of it. Sure, Leelavati. Yep. But if you missed yesterday's recording again, there is a lot of files which we have uploaded in the dashboard. So that files it need to be downloaded in your local machines, which is already available there in your dashboard. So once check it, and I've explained how to download and how to upload and everything in yesterday's session, which I'm not going to explain it again. So yeah, because we are going to work on some data sets, Leelavati. Hope you can understand that. Wonderful. So Aditya, wonderful, great. Harsh, data manipulation, Aditi, great. Srisha, data analysis, right? Ungarla, all right. Fine, Amol, pandas for EDL. Right, everyone gave the right answer. So the next one. So have you all downloaded the file which I've uploaded in the dashboard? Have you all downloaded it? Harsh, okay. Aditi, yes. Harsh, Aditi downloaded. What about others? 8 out of 10 files downloaded, 2 files just opening in Explorer. Okay. So, and the next, great Ungarla. And is all the files downloadable? All 10 files. Have you downloaded Ungarla? Ungarla and Harshaditi. All 10 files is downloadable. Some files have issues to download. Okay. So I just copy. Okay. Fine. Let's try to sort it out. All right. Anyway, we'll see what are the file names and everything. Okay, Leelavati, let's look into it. Fine. File number 6 and 7, not 5, 6 is like that. Okay, what is a file name? 5 and 6, what is a file name? data.tsv.txt. Okay. Okay. Fine. Let's do one thing. In case, so what I'm doing, I'm just uploading all the files in this drive link. Let me give you this. I'm just giving this link on the chat box. Now I think you should be able to download all the files by using this links. Just do click on it. And Amar, please keep this link saved, and you can give this link in the dashboard also, so that everybody, those who are watching online, so they can also take it in case if they miss it. Okay. All right. Thanks, Amar. So once check it, everyone. So you're able to download the files now. Let me give you 2 to 3 minutes. Anil is downloading. Okay. And this link, I just made it open. Please don't try to create any link, Aditya. So I'm just keeping this link open so that you can only take these files. Don't create any folder. I've given this editor access so that you can download the files here. Okay. Yes, Ashwant. These are all the data sets that we are going to practice in our session. Have you all downloaded and uploaded in your Jupyter notebook? Can you all just give me confirmation? Okay, Amol. Try to take it in your mission. So yesterday we created a folder pandas deep dive. Within that, we created all the files. Great, Jyoti. Within this, we uploaded all the files, and then we created this folder. And have you all practiced in how to read a file? How to read a file from the current directory, from the other directories, the file if it is available in the other directories. Have you all practiced that? The danger for training and testing, we have to go to machine learning. So the first part is nothing but how to perform data analysis. That's what we are going to do it now. Later, we will just go for train, test, split, and everything. Not now. Okay, Harsh has practiced it. How about others? Have you all practiced in how to read a file from the current directory or from your any other locations in your local machine? Sanjaya, yes. Satyush, yes, wonderful. Yes, Satyush. Great. So now what we can do? So we are going to make use of these data sets and we are going to perform some analysis. All right. So let me get into today's session. So today, let me share you this plan of learning this. There are basically few, even to do data analysis, there are some functions which we can master, because if you see some data analysis, or if you see some people who are looking into the dashboard who are explaining the things, they try to raise multiple questions on the data. Now firstly we have to understand how these people are raising questions by looking into something. Raising questions, so raising questions itself a skill. Okay, so by looking into the data, let me just repeat it, raising questions by looking into the data, that itself a skill that we have to develop. So now how to raise questions on the data by looking into it. So for that, within Python, we are having few functions. So if you're able to master those functions, then raising questions. So these functions is going to help us to write questions. All right, like group by function, apply function, and we are having a concat and we are having cross tab. In this way, we are having some functions. So these functions is going to help. The function is nothing but what? An operation which we are going to perform on top of our data set. So if you are doing that particular part, it is going to help us to raise some questions. So initially, firstly, we need to be able to know how to make use of that functions, and then interpretation, and then by looking into any other data set, you can come up with your own questions. Okay, so that is what I'm trying to deliver with respect to this exercises. So we are going to divide this exercises into multiple chapters. So just look onto it. Let me just show you this chapter. All right, once see this. So to understand this, so chapter one, we are going to get into the data, and chapter one is nothing but getting and knowing your data. So here we will be using some sort of functions and everything. So getting and knowing your data. So that is chapter one, and chapter two is nothing but filtering and sorting our data set. So again, we are going to perform some another exercise of filtering and sorting, and then grouping function, apply function, merge function, and then we may get into this chapter 12, or we will just juggle between multiple chapters, but we'll make sure we will take most of the stuff what I just mentioned it here. So now the very first chapter is nothing but the getting and knowing your data. So what we will do, let's get into, so now today we will be getting into chapter 1 and chapter 2 and chapter 3. Okay, so maybe if time permits, we can get into this chapter 8 also. It's very simple chapter to take it. So we are planning to complete this chapter 1, 2, 3, and also this chapter 8. Let's open up our Jupyter notebook and let's start scripting now. Okay, so now let me scroll down. Now I don't need this particular reading the file and everything. Let me delete it. All right. So whenever you're opening up this Jupyter notebook, everything will be cleared off. So basically, so what you can do, let me create a new chapter 1. Chapter 1, getting and knowing your data. So that is what chapter 1. Maybe let me zoom a bit. So my screen is visible to everyone. Is the font size, everything, is it fine? Oh, okay, great. Fine. So now let me import this pandas first. Okay. Now, firstly, we have to read this one data set into my local machine. So for that, pd dot, if you give tab button, you will be getting list of all functions, attributes, and data types available within this. So now what I wanted to read CSV. I wanted to read, let's try to make use of this data set, txt. Okay, let me copy this data dot, it's a tab separated file basically. So within this single quotes, I'm just giving it. Okay, so there is an error. So what is this error and how we can fix it? What is the problem? What is this problem? Done, Supriya. Install pandas. No, install pandas has already been there. Pandas installation is already there. So here, I think yesterday we looked at file is txt, so we have to give separator. Great. Tab button, shift triple tab. You will be getting the separator is equal to copy. Separator, it is a tab separator. I'm not explaining this again. What is this tab separator? For this, you should be, we have already explained this part yesterday. If you don't know how exactly I'm doing it, just go back to yesterday's recording, watch it and come back here. It should be understandable. So now this recording, this data, I have to store it into one variable so that I can perform some sort of operations. So what is this? By looking into this data, just take a look at this data. And what is this data set is all about? So whenever we are assigning to a variable, it should be something meaningful. So what name can we give? Can we give to this data set? What name we can give to this data set? You can just post your ideas. What you're thinking? Is it food menu? Okay. Restaurant registry. Yes, Harsh, you got it. Can we say this is an order details or purchase details, because we are able to have order ID, right? So with an order ID, we are having order ID 1 has purchased which item and how many quantities, what are the choice description available for this item, and what is the item price. So can we say because of this order ID, and the item price what we have and the quantity it's mentioned, can we say it is an order details or purchase details from a restaurant? What do you say? Yes. So let me give it something like it is an order detail. So whenever you are giving a name to a variable, it shouldn't be like A is equal to, or some people use data. We know it is a data, but what data it is. So whenever you're trying to give a name, try to make it something more meaningful. So it is order details. Order details. Okay, order details. Now let us try to explore some basic functions, and then we will explore this particular data, and we will be using one function called as group by. So now my point is nothing but, so now we got into this particular order details and we are able to see. So there are few functions like, let's say here, how many observations it is available. So now whenever we got this particular data, so now we have to think on the firstly is nothing but what is a step one in life cycle of a data scientist that applies for data analyst as well. What is the first step? Data analysis, sorry, life cycle of a data scientist. Okay, we gather this data. All right, we got this data, and then is it pre-processing? Okay, pre-processing. Training and modeling, that comes like fifth and sixth step. The data cleaning, great understanding. So even before data understanding, even if you look on to, if you remember day one what is said, business understanding, right? So now this is a data set from one restaurant. Now we are going to analyze this particular data. Now, why we have to analyze this particular data? I'm getting a question. So if I'm able to analyze this data, what kind of impact I'm going to give to the business? So here itself, we have to think in lines of business, not just directly jumping into data cleaning, data preparation. Now, that's not something which we have to do. So firstly, we have to keep in our mind, by solving this or by doing some sort of analysis, how I'm going to benefit the organization, or how I'm going to benefit this restaurant, in what perspective. So am I going to increase their revenue, or I'm going to look into some details just to show them what they have done, so that they can take their own action. What is it something we are trying to do? So firstly, the very first step is nothing but business impact. So how we have to give, or how with by solving this or by analyzing this, so how I'm going to impact the business. So that's what the very first step that we have to keep in our mind. And with that mindset, we have to get into this problem and we have to do some sort of analysis. Now, if you look into this particular data, I'm able to see item names and item price, and this is an order details. Now I can just come up with something like, okay, now firstly I need to find out what are all the different items available, because I'm able to say I'm able to see steak burrito, chicken salad bowl, which has been repeated. So there should be some set of items which is available. And secondly, I can find out so which item has been ordered most of the times, because I'm able to see quantity and item. So even they know which item has been ordered most of the time. Maybe I'll come up with the first 10 items which has been ordered most of the times. And I'll also go with the numbers. So by giving this, the business, I'm going to impact the business by telling them, hey, these are the top 10 products which is going well in your market. Maybe after the first five rank goes to these products and the next five ranks goes to these different items. Maybe if you try to come up with some new things, the next five items will also be the top purchased item, and the least purchased items are these many items. So you don't need to invest more stocks in getting this, because if it is a restaurant, they used to go for a bulk stock and they used to buy it. So again, more stocks, if they're not using it, it is going to be wasted. So we can save some money over there. So in that way, we can benefit the organization. So before jumping into directly data preparation, data cleaning and everything, the very first step itself, how we are going to benefit the business, we have to be very clear with that particular term. Able to understand what I'm saying? Is it making sense? Amol, why /d? I think you missed yesterday's recording, Amol. Have you attended till the end of yesterday's session? Because it is a tab separated file. All right. In case even if you're not getting it, so just try to go back to yesterday's recording, watch last few minutes of recording, how we are downloading the file, reading the file and everything, you should be getting it. All right. Great. So now see this. So this is how we can just do all the sorts of raising the questions by looking into the data set itself. Business understanding is done, and now we are good with how we are going to impact the business. We are good with it. Now the next thing is nothing but we got this data collection has been made, and now let's perform some sort of analysis so that we are going to understand it first. Data understanding. So this is a client given data set. He has given order ID, quantity, item name. So let's understand the client given data. We call it as initial analysis on the data. That's what we have to. That's what we are going to do it now. So now let me do it. Let's say 1.1. Let me give it perform initial. We call it as data understanding. All right. So once we get the data, we go for data understanding. In data understanding, this is a initial investigation. We can say initial investigation on the data. All right. So what we can, or 1 minute. So what we can do is nothing but, so this is my data set. So directly, if I'm just seeing this particular data, I'm able to see the top 5 observation and the last 5 observation. That's how this data set, this will get displayed because of this particular thing. Now, in case, let's say how many rows are there, I'm able to see 4,622 rows and 5 columns. So now I wanted to know how many rows and columns, let's say how many rows and columns is available. Here itself we got an understanding, but with respect to script, if I wanted to know, so here your data set name is order details. Dot, if you give tab button, you will be getting a lot of things. So from here, I'm going to use something called as shape. SH. If you scroll down, you'll be getting something called a shape. Shape. Okay. Now the shape, I'm using it. Now I'm able to see 4,622 observations and 5 columns. Now I got this data. So now the shape, is it a function or what it is? If it is a function, I need to open and do this particular parenthesis. If I'm doing it, it is a error. So if I'm just giving this open and close parenthesis, we call it as function. If you're not enclosing with this open and close parenthesis, we call it as an attribute. Grid hash attributes. So as I said before, read CSV, it is a function. So if it is a function, you have to go with open and close parenthesis. So if it is an attribute, we don't need to pass any parameters within that, because if it is a function, we will be coming up with arguments, parameters, we have to pass it. But over here, some attribute is nothing but it will perform only one task. That's it. So shape is an attribute. Again, it is going to give us some results. That's it. But it is not going to come up with any open and close parenthesis. So library is nothing but a set of functions, attributes, and its own data types. Now, able to understand the difference between attributes and functions? All right. Somewhat. Fine, let's move further then. See this order details. Now I want to know, mm, let's say I want to know the head command. See this within this keep a dot, and if you're saying this list of functions will be having it. There is something called as head. If you're directly using it, it is a you're getting the result, but it is not in a proper format. So what we can do, I'm just using this open and close parenthesis. So now head is nothing but head is a now what is this head? Is it a function or an attribute? What do you say? Head is a function or an attribute. It is a function. Why function? because it is enclosed with open and close parentheses. Here it is not enclosed with open and close parentheses, so we don't call it as an attribute. Sorry, we don't call it as a function. So now what is this head? I think you all know it. This is a very basic head. If I'm just since it is a function, it should be having some arguments and parameters inside. So I'm keeping my cursor here and I'm just going with shift tab. I got this particular part. It is an int is n is equal to 5, which means that returns the first n rows. So this functions return the first n rows for the object based on the positions. So I can just take a read on it later. Okay. Now, basically the default number is 5. Okay. In case if I wanted to see the first 10 observation, you can just directly mention the number 10. So you're able to see the first 10. Let's say I want to see the first 15 observation, I can see it. Now, why we have to use this head function? I'm getting a question. Why? Because if you wanted to see, if you are just seeing this order details, if you're not using the set commands, this data got stored into this variable. Now you're not able to see the first 5 observation and the last 5 observation you got to see. Now, what if you wanted to see a data? Because if it is an Excel sheet, you will be seeing the complete data set scroll down by scrolling down, and you would be able to see. But here it is possible. Basically, you can see all the data set. But again, it is not really required to do that. Why? I'll let you know in some time. But here, if you're seeing this, by default, it is displaying me the first 6 observation and the last, first 5 observation and the last 5 observation. Now, if I'm able to look into the first 20 or 15 observations, I will get a good understanding about the data, right? Order ID, it is 1, 2, 3. It is in this way, it is increasing. Order quantity, if I'm able to see 1, and some orders has been made 2 quantities also. These are all the different item names. So item price, I'm able to see $2, 2.39 per dollars, and $10.98. So in this way, I'm able to see different, I'm able to get some ideas. See this, there are some null values here. In this way, when I'm just looking into the top 15 observations or 20 observations, I'm able to get an idea how exactly this data set is looking like. So for that reason, we are using the set command. Able to understand what I'm saying? This is a very small function, but whenever we are using this, we have to understand the purpose behind it and we have to learn it. Got my point what I'm saying? Great, Jyoti. All right. Great. Now, let me ask you this question. What if I wanted to see the last 5 observations or last 10 observations? Last 5 observations or last 10 observations, something. Tail command, right? -10. I don't think so. -10, I have not tried it. No, it is not working. Except -10 is nothing but except the last 10 elements it is. So you can go with the bottom. There is no, if you are coming with any methods, just look onto it. Order details, dot tab button. Is there anything like bottom? There is nothing called as bottom. There is something called as tail. Okay, tail. It is a function, so open and close parenthesis. So by default, if you see, if you place your cursor inside, it is last in. So you can go with, let's say if you want to go with last in observation, again to see how exactly the last few observations are, we can use a tail command. Right. So now we got an understanding between functions and attributes. Done. So let us try to use this order details dot. If you give tab button, you will be having something called as data types. Okay, let me click on this data types. Now I'm executing this. Now data types, is it an attribute or a function? Data types, is it attribute or function? It is an attribute. Great. Now see this order ID, it is an int 64. Wonderful, everyone. Quantity, it is int 64. Item name, choice, description, item price, it is object. Why? Because see this. Now we learned in Python about int data type, float data type, string data type. Now what from where exactly this object is coming from? 64 is coming from. So this 64 and 64 is nothing but your processor, and it doesn't provide any significance in our analysis. What we are focused is nothing but integer. Okay, it is an integer. So if you look onto it, order ID and quantity. So order ID, it is an integer. Quantity, it is an integer. An item name, basically it is a string, right? But it is a pandas data type, because if you see here, we have read this data with the help of pandas. So pandas, now it becomes a pandas data type. Yes, it is a Python, but within Python, since we have used this libraries, now it becomes a pandas data type. So now, if you look onto it, pandas data type is nothing but object. Whenever you're able to see this English characters, so this complete column, it will be treated as object. So item is an object. Choice description English alphabet, so it's an object. Item price, this is also treated as object. Why? Item price is also treated as object. Why is it is a numbers, right? Great, everyone, because this dollar has been used. So if it is an integer or a float, I need to have only numbers. So appended with yes, right, Jyoti. So it is appended with the dollar symbol. So I shouldn't have any non-numeric characters, everything. So other than this numeric character, I should not have anything like this dollars or spaces like that. So because of that, this complete column has been treated as in dollars. So by data cleaning, we can remove that. So later we can do that. So now the goal is nothing but, so that's what the point. So a library is nothing but a set of functions, attributes, and its own data types. Now the statement what we made yesterday, is that clear now? Got it. Great. Fine. So now what we can do? So we just perform again, it is just an initial investigation. So now let me use one important function here, that is order details dot. If you see, there is something called as describe function. See this, I'm able to see this, but it is not giving me a proper display. So what I'll do, let me open and close it. Now I'm able to see this is a describe function. Now what is this describe function is all about? It's a shift triple tap I'm giving it. I'm able to see this particular data. So it is a function, it is having some arguments and parameters. Now it generates a descriptive statistics. Descriptive statistics include those that summarize the central tendency, dispersion, shape of a dataset's distribution, excluding Indian values. Very important thing. Let me copy this, Control C. Let me come back here. Let me paste it. Descriptive statistics include those that summarize a central tendency, dispersion, shape of a data set distribution, excluding NN values. So now this central tendency and everything I will be explaining in statistics session. After we complete this pandas discussion, we will be getting into it. Now we got this particular data, describe. So now order ID, it's with the minimum number is 1, the maximum number is 1834. Now what we can conclude from here is nothing but, so the total number of orders has been made is 1834. So because the minimum number is 1 and the maximum number if it is 1834, which means that the total number of orders which has been placed in this restaurant in this data is nothing but 1834. Right. So now the quantity. So within this particular only this quantity, minimum order is 1 and the maximum order is 15. So now I can understand that. So when people are making multiple purchases, the minimum quantity is 1 and even people are getting 15 quantities also. Right. Now, what about the other three columns, item name, choice description, item price? It is not listing it down. Why it is not listing it down is nothing but because these three columns are object data type. So if it is an object data type, by default, it is not going to give us a description statistics. Again, let us raise a question. Why it is not getting displayed? Now, item name, it is an object data. Now, this count is nothing but how many entries, non-null values are there. It is order ID 4622 non-null values, and mean is nothing but the average, and standard deviation, everything I'll explain it later. This 25th percentile, 50th percentile, 75th percentile maximum value. Now this we can discuss it later, but now the point is nothing but let's take about mean. Okay, mean and everything, the minimum number and maximum number we can take it. So if I'm including item name here, can we find out like what is the Average item name here. Average item name. Can we get it? We can't get it. Can we get it something like minimum item name? Minimum value, something like a number? We can't get it. So because of that, it is not getting displayed. But is there a way? But what we can display here, what is the descriptive statistic that we can perform for item name is nothing but just once think on it. So we can come to one conclusion, how many different items is there, right? Because this item name is having different items. Now I can come up with something called as how many different items. So we can say unique items in this particular object. And maybe we can say the top, we can get a report like top occurring item, which is the top occurring item. And what is the frequency of the top occurring item? I can get it over there. Right, Jyoti, you got this point. So in case these are all some descriptive statistics which we can get it at one shot. Now what I'm doing, so shift triple tap, I'm giving it. So here I'm having something called include. All right, let's try to read out. So include is equal to, if I'm just setting it to all, what will happen is nothing but see this. All columns of the input will be included in the output. So by default, what will happen? See this, if it is non-default, the result will include all numeric columns. Only numeric columns will be included. So now what I wanted to display all this value. So all this column. So what I'm doing, include is set to none basically. So now this is a default parameter. So now what I'll do, I'll just set to all. I'm reading this documentation and I'm just doing it. Now see this. Now item name, I'm able to see 50 unique items are available. 50 unique items are available. And the most occurred one is nothing but chicken bowl. And the frequency of the chicken bowl is 726 times. Okay. So, but why you see this? NAN, because I can't find the mean value. Standard deviation, I can't find this standard deviation. Minimum value, I can't find it out with respect to object data. Because of this, all the values here, if you see, everything is NAN. NAN for object, this also object, this also object. I can't get this information when it is an object data type. In the similar way, why here it is NAN? Order ID, it is a numeric column. Can I get what is a unique order ID here? I can't get it. What is the top order ID? I can't get it. Frequency, because order ID itself is unique. So frequency, I can't get it. So here it is a name. Quantity, what is a unique quantity? I can't get it. But I can say which is the minimum quantity, maximum quantity. That we have already got it here because it is a number. So because of that, here it is NAN. And because this order ID and quantity, because if it is a numerical columns, we got NAN over here. Because item name, choice description, and item price, it is a non-numeric columns, we can get this unique top and frequencies. Able to understand this point? All right, great. So this is the power of this pandas library, because if you are using this excels and everything within only one line, can you get a description report like this in excel sheets? If you do data analysis, if you know data analysis, can you get this kind of descriptive statistics within one line of Hi, thanks, Vienna Makali. Thank you. Can you get a good description report like this in Excel? If you know, let me know. Supriya, no. Even if you learn Excel, Pamani, no. Even if you learn Excel, within this one line, you can't get it. All right. So even I've trained a lot of data analyst batches as well. So even I raised this question to them, even they said they learned Excels and everything. This kind of analysis not possible. So in case if your goal is to become a data analyst, okay, that's why I just mentioned in day one, if you see, what are the skills expected for to become a data analyst? So I mentioned SQL, Excel, VBA, and basics of Python programming. Firstly, I mentioned pandas because now today in the market, they are expecting basic Python programming also. So because this kind of descriptive report, it will take many days to occur, many days to find it out. But with Python, within only one line, you can get this kind of automated report. So that's the power of Python. So Python, we can make use it for data analysis by using some sort of libraries. Again, we are having different libraries which we can just make use for automation as well. So this is Pandas is very important library for data analysis. Up to this clear, everyone? Great. Fine. Then. So these are all the initial investigation on the data. Right. So let's try to do more initial investigation here. So now what I wanted is nothing, but here I'm able to see item name is totally 50 different items are available. Now I want to know what are all the 50 items, because here totally 50 unique items is there. But what are all the 50 items if I wanted to see? My data set name is order details dot. Again, I'm going to use another script, sorry, function. There is nothing, but I'm able to see something called as dot unique. Sorry. So order details I've just picked up. Now, in case, see this, I will be looking, I need to pick up this, where exactly my different items are available is nothing but it is available in this item name column. So to filter, data filtering, so we have to use which bracket? Data filtering, we have to use which bracket? Because if you see order details, I'm having the complete data. Now from this complete data, I have to filter only this particular column. So for data filtering, which bracket we have to use it? Great, it is a square bracket. So what I'm doing, I'm just giving square bracket. Within this, a single column, I'm just going to take this item underscore name. Control C, let me paste it. Now I got this particular column. So within this particular column, so totally all this item has been listed. Now let me keep a dot, and if we keep tab button, so by using this one column, what are all the different functions that you can apply? You can see it over here. So these different functions you can apply it here. So here you're able to see something called as unique. It is a function. So we go with open and close parentheses. Now, if you take a read, let me see this. Look onto it. So these are all the different items which is available. Now you're able to something called as array and everything. In case if you wanted to take this out, just try to use this print function. Print function. So I'm using this parenthesis here. Now these are all the different chips and fresh tomatoes also is a Nantucket nectar. So chips and tomato leaf green chilies also. Chicken bowl, side of chips. So these are all the, if you just take it, so these are all the 50 different items which I'm having in this particular store. All right. Now my question is it a great insight that we have got it here? Is it a meaningful insight? Let me make this point. Dr. Veera is saying no. Dr. Lilavade is again saying no. Aditi, yes. Srisha, no. Okay, let me ask this question. Pavani again, no. Why no? Why it is not a great insight? Can't identify repetition. Okay. Because anyway, Leelavati, we just wanted to find out the unique items, right? Because the goal is nothing but I wanted to see the unique elements. These are all the 50 items which is getting sold in the restaurant. I got this. That's what my goal. And I got this point here. Astosh, it is not meaningful, I guess. Why it is not meaningful, Astosh? Why? I'm trying to ask multiple questions so that I'm trying to make you think so that you will know. I can just keep explaining the things, but I just want you to think on it once, and then if I'm giving the answer, your brain will take or remember it what I'm saying. All right. So just I would encourage everyone to think on this answer, and you can respond that on the chat box. More meaningful would be how many times each was ordered. Maybe you got the point, Jyoti. Great. Srisha, it's like a paragraph, not distinct. Okay. All right, Srisha. So even you can just take it and display it in line by line. That's also, if it is a list like, could be better. Okay. Now see this. I think you all came near to it, but again, the point is nothing but you are focusing on the display. How exactly it is displaying it. So even I can take it, I can just display it in one line, one column. I can do that. But the point, there is a difference between insight and a meaningful insight. Insight is nothing but this is the client given data. You are doing the analysis and you got an insight that there are 50 different stores. But can I report this information as an insight to the client? Let's say Srisha is my client. Now Srisha has given me this data. Now I'm just doing all this initial analysis and I'm just giving a call because it's a agile methodology, right? So after getting this data, so with whatever we understood, we have to report it to the client. Now this is a great insight. Now I'm just giving a call to Srisha and saying, hey Srisha, thanks for providing me this data. And I'm able to see that there are totally 50 items in your store that you're selling off. Is Srisha going to be happy for that? The analysis, what I'm just trying to make. This analysis, is it going to give a good feel to Srisha? Okay, Wasim, no. I think everyone are thinking, why this today? It's a lot of questions, questions and questions and questions. Why? Everyone are getting frustrated, I think so, because of questions. Wasim says needs full report. Yep, that's right. All right, Shruti. Quantity, Viramakali, quantity should be added with this data, right, Viramakali? So the point is nothing but this is something, this information is something which is already known to the business or the client, right? So don't you think this? If I'm just giving this report to my client, let's say Srisha is my client. Now I'm calling to Srisha and I'm saying, hey Srisha, I made a good analysis on that. And this data is coming up with 50 different items in your store. Now Srisha is going to tell me that, hey, means thanks for doing a great analysis on my data. So that's it. I don't like to hear anything from you. Stop it. So this is something which is already known to the client. So insight, this is insight for us to, from this particular step, still we have to perform a lot of analysis. But the point is nothing, but yes, it is an insight, but it is not a meaningful insight. So which we can speak to the client. So the meaningful insight is nothing, but with the numbers, we need to go to the client and say, hey, this is what I got it. This is what your data set is speaking about. Maybe you can just take a look into it, which will make them to think. So this insight is not a meaningful insight because it is not going to benefit the organization or the client. Able to get my point? The difference between insight and meaningful insight. Is that point clear? All right, Abol. Gladly, yeah. So Priya, yes, sir. Fine. So now I think Jyoti and the daughter Veera has mentioned this. So what we can do, what can be a meaningful answer is nothing, but they mentioned that we can go with the order number, means the number of quantities. So now what is my idea is nothing, but so now if I'm having this items and the quantity, which items has been ordered most? Maybe the point is nothing, but I can just try to compare this item name and let me include this quantity. And here item name is nothing but totally 50 different items. I have to create one column and I have to sum this, which let's say here, steak burrito. Steak burrito is one of the name it's just mentioned here, quantity. And here is nothing but I have to include this quantity. And this quantity for steak burrito, how many times it has been ordered? Let's say it is one and one. It need to be summed up and it need to get displayed. So it is nothing but I have to include this item name with quantity, and I need to get this most frequently purchased or ordered items. So that's what I have to do. So in case if I'm doing that, that would be a great analysis. So now what I'll do is nothing but I have to find out. So this is one point. Yeah, let's say it is data understanding. So within data understanding, let me take it as 1.1 initial investigation, and then let's say the next equation. So find out the most find out the most frequently ordered item. Find out most frequently ordered items. Okay. So now what I can do is nothing but firstly, I have to group this particular data, right? Item name, order details, item. First, I have to take it. Order details. So this is my particular data. So dot, if I'm just looking onto it, there is something called as group by function. Since it is a function, this will take some time to understand. Give your complete attention here. So this is something which will give us a good insight. Group by, it is a function. If it is a function, it should have some arguments inside it. So shift double time I'm giving it. I'm able to see something called as by here. Let me copy this, Control C. There are a lot of things. So slowly you can focus on this later. But what exactly it's do? Group data frame using a mapper or by a series of columns. Okay. So within this by, you have to give a label name or a list of label name. You can give it. A label name will try to give it. So by Control C, or you can just type it also, is equal to by which column you have to group it. You have to group based on this item name. There exactly you're having different items. Control C. Okay. Now shift enter. Now what exactly has happened is nothing but all this different items. Let's say chips, tomatoes, salsa is every item names, 50 different items names got grouped. Now it got grouped. Now after grouping, we have to pick up one numeric variable. That is nothing but, let me try to make this example. So whenever we make a statement, hey, what is the average salary based on location? So if you see based on location is nothing but what? It is a categorical data type. That is nothing but we can have Bangalore, we can have Mumbai, we can have Maharashtra, we can have Gujarat. So this location is nothing but what? Different categories. And the salary is nothing but a numerical data type. An average is nothing but a one's kind of aggregation function, we can say. So the point to be noted, firstly, we need to group based on some categorical data. Grouping is done. The next one, we have to pick up one numeric function. So that numeric data is nothing but I have to filter out this quantity. So for filtering this quantity, which bracket we have to use? Square bracket or parenthesis? For data filtering, we have to use square bracket or parenthesis? Square bracket. So within square bracket, I'm going to use great everyone. Quantity. Great. So now again, still we are not able to see the output because there is what is the average? This is nothing but a aggregative function. Now I want to know what are all the different aggregation functions I have. So what I'm doing, Python aggregation functions. Let me click on it. Let me see this. So now this is something which I found it useful. So if we scroll to see this, count total number of items, first and last, mean. Here you're able to see something called as sum of all items. So I wanted to use a sum. Basically, why sum? Because Control C. Let me come back here. You have to keep a dot and then use sum. Now, what exactly this will do? See this. Let us see the output. Now, if you see the output, 6-pack soft drink. And if you look onto it, all the 50 different items has been listed down. Okay. These are all the 50 different items available in the store. And 6-pack soft drink has been ordered 55 times. Already has been ordered, or the 55 times. Barbecue bowl has been ordered 66 times. So what had happened? Why I've used sum? Because if you look onto this data, okay, so let's say stick burrito has been grouped. Now I'm looking onto the quantity. So now 1 plus 1, because I have to sum it up. The total frequency I have to do. So I just used this particular sum, 1 plus 1. In that way, I just went forward. So chicken salad board. Here I'm able to chicken salad board. 1 plus 1 plus 1, so totally 3. In this way it need to group it, and then I need to do that aggregation function called as sum, so that I'll be getting 55. So six pack soft drink has been ordered 55 times. Barbecue ball has been ordered 66 times, and it is 91 times. Also, bottled water has been added 21 times, 211 times. So this is nothing but what it is not displaying in a. It is just displaying in an alphabetical order. But I wanted to list down in the topmost order. So what we can do again, I'm using another function called as dot. There's another function called as sort underscore values. Within that, see this sort values in Python. Okay, sort values in Python. If you see this, this is one function here. Within this particular function, we are having something called as ascending as one of the argument. All right, ascending as one of the argument here. So let me copy this ascending. Let me come back here, because here if you give shift triple tap, you won't be able to see this. Shift triple tap I'm giving it, I'm not able to see because of one reason. I'll let you know why. But there is nothing called as descending as an argument. We are having only ascending as an argument. And the default one is, let us get into the official page. Yes, see this sort values. We are having ascending. So the default argument is not, so default parameter is nothing, but it is true. Ascending is equal to true. That's what it has been set over here. All right. So now, which I wanted to set it as false, because if you read it, Boolean, it is a list of Boolean. The default one is true. Now, what I wanted, in case if you wanted to display in a descending order, I have to set it as what? This need to be tweaked as is equal to, let's say, I'm not giving anything, only sort values I'm giving it. See this? It is getting displayed in an ascending order. Now, what I want to do, ascending, which is one of the argument which is available inside this, let me give it as false. Now I'm able to say, hey, chicken bowl has been ordered 761 times. Chicken burrito has been ordered 591 times. Chips and guacamole has been ordered 506 times. So let's say I wanted to display the top 10 items. So I can use dot head command of 10. So these are all the most frequently ordered items in this particular restaurant. Now, do you think this is a great insight? What do you see? Is it a meaningful insight? Yes. All right. So we are not going with an intuitive, because by intuition, everybody is going to know, because the store person or whoever is working over there, whenever they're just parceling it, they'll get to know chicken bowl. Okay, it has been ordered. This is something which is moving very quickly. They know that. But as a data analyst person or a data scientist person, we have to go with the numbers. Maybe we can just take this and we can also break down into percentage wise calculation. That also we can do. But the point is nothing but here I have to go with the numbers. So for that reason, I went with the numbers. Y is equal to false because we are not having any argument called as descending as one of the argument here. Only we are having an argument called as ascending. If I'm just leaving it like that, it is getting displayed like the orders like one, and that's what it is getting displayed, the ascending order. But I wanted to display in a descending order so that I will get the most frequently ordered items. So I'm setting it false. That's it. All right. So see this, how many functions we are using it here? One, group by is a function, two, three, four. Totally four function you're using it. So this one we call it as chain methods. All right. So if you're good in this particular functions, you can come up to this kind of analysis and you can just explain it to the client side. So that's what, as I said, what is the average salary based on the location? So now we know this group by function. So in case if I'm providing you a new data set, you can raise this question and you can come up with the conclusion. That's what the main point which we have to understand it from here. Got it, everyone? That's why we need to know this Python programming language, and this is how it is um, useful for performing this data analysis. All right, fine, great then. Now again, we will come back to this group by function. Maybe tomorrow we will just come back here. Again, I'm going to maybe this group by function, we will spend more time because group by is something very much important, and we will be working on it. So this is all about this particular chapter. All right, chapter number 1. Chapter 1 is all about how we need to get and know your data. So getting and knowing your data is nothing but we are performing some sort of initial analysis on the data, and we are knowing our data set better. Okay, by using some functions, we are just knowing our data set better, and we try to pull out, we have understood the difference between an insight and a meaningful insight. So this insight we can just report to the client. Which kind of insight we need to report to the client? I think we got an idea about it. Now the next part is nothing but filtering and sorting, chapter number 2. So let's just give a name, and then maybe we can go for a quick break of 3 minutes, and then we will be back and we can continue it. All right, let's just note it down. This is chapter 2, filtering and sorting. All right, and for this maybe we'll try to pick up this one, euro 2012.csv file. Let's try to take it. Control C. In pandas has already been read. Import read underscore csv file. It is already a csv file, so we don't need to give anything. So now we have looked onto this. All right, so what you're able to understand from this data, maybe we can give this answer by looking into this. What you're able to understand from this? Anyone? Match details, statistics of shooting. Yes, football match scores of countries and its analysis. Great. Wonderful, Amit. So it is nothing but it's a football match. Croatia and shots on target, off target, shooting accuracy, hit woodwork. And here itself, the data set it says it is Euro. And it is nothing but 2012 complete statistics report, right? So Croatia and everything. And this data, we are not going to pull out insights because this itself a great insight, because it's a great report. Number of goals they have looked onto it, shots on target, off target, shooting accuracy. This itself a great report, basically. Now we are not going to pull out any insights, but we are going to make use of this data for performing an exercise called as filtering and sorting. Okay, so but let's give a meaningful name to it. It is Euro football match 2012 data. Okay, Euro 2012 data. Let me give it. Okay, so this data set we are going to use it to understand this data filtering. All right. All right, no problem. Statistics of soccer matches at Euro 2012. Great, Jyoti. So now let's go for 3 minutes break. You can take a quick break. 3 minutes timer. Let me start it. So now the time is 8:17. We will resume at 8:20. Okay, let's go for a quick break now. Hey everyone, it's all back from break. All right, great. So now let's continue this. So now we are at this particular chapter 2. Now let's say I just wanted to go for some data filtering. That is, and one more point to be noted is nothing but see this. Here I'm able to see how many columns here, totally 35 columns and 16 rows I'm able to see. But am I able to see all the 35 columns? The first 10 columns I'm able to see. And here something like a dot 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 I'm able to have, and the last 10 columns. Now in case if I wanted to know or wanted to see all the 10 columns in my Jupyter notebook, because if I'm able to see this 10 columns at one shot, sorry, all these columns at one shot, I will be get an idea how what are the different column names and everything. So for that you just need to do one small configuration like this within pandas dot, there is something called a set underscore option. Within that, see this your arguments and keywords, see this variable length argument and keyword arguments. I think this is what we learned in our user defined function. So we will be using keyword arguments and variable length argument and also keyword argument also. And what are all the arguments that need to be used? Maybe you can take a read here. Within this, what are all the options to be used? We can just take a read on here, or else directly we can just mention it. So what you can do is nothing, but here you can just give a single column and you can just say max underscore columns. This is a configuration here, max underscore columns, and then give comma none, which means that I don't want to give any restrictions, no restrictions, no restrictions on the columns. So now if you're seeing this particular part is hero data, I'm able to see the first 10 observations, sorry, columns, and the last 10 columns. Now if you set this option, max underscore names is equal to none, let me execute. See this, still till now it not get executed. Now I'm executing it. Let me run this cell. Okay, now this cell got run. Now I'm executing this cell number 34. I'm executing this. Now see this. Let me scroll right. All the column names you are able to see it here. I'm just scrolling it right. I'm able to see. So this is how you can just look into your all your columns at once. Now, in case if you wanted to see all your rows, because here the previous example, the previous chapter, all the details here you have not seen this particular all the columns. Now, in case if you wanted to see, but it is not recommended basically. Sorry, you just need to go with pd dot. 1 minute. You just need to go pd dot set underscore option max underscore rows. Come on, this configuration you have to give it, but we don't recommend this particular option, but just for your knowledge purpose we are giving it. Why we don't recommend is nothing, but in case if you're executing this option, 4622 rows. Now it will take a lot of time to execute. Some cases it will take a lot of time because you don't need to see all this 4622 rows. Our idea is nothing but what are all the different parameters, sorry, different columns available. And just by taking a look into the first 10 or 15 columns, 15 rows, we will be getting a good understanding about it. Why do I need to even look into all the data, right? Because even if it is an Excel sheet, we don't look into it. We'll try to use a filter option and we'll try to have a quick glance with respect to the feature. So feature is something we are focused on and not the rows. Able to get my point, what I'm saying? Jyoti, Pavani, yes. Okay. But in case it's up to you to give a try, maybe if you're experiencing that, you will try to understand why I just made a point. And one more point also to be noted before we get into this exercise, let me give you some terminology alert because sometimes I'm using some terms. Okay. This is a terminology alert. That is, when I'm explaining, you might have noticed I'm mentioning features, parameters. What are the features and parameters? I'm getting confused. So in this IT world, we call this data, we just try to go with some other terms. Rows, we call it as observations. These are the mature terms, what we use it here, observations. And columns, we call, sorry, observations and records. Some rarely we call it as a data point. Data point. Okay. So rows is called as observations, records, or a data point. Your columns is called as features or parameters. All right. So these are all the different terms how we call for rows and columns. So from here onwards, I won't be saying rows and columns. I'll be addressing with this kind of terms because this is how we use it out. All right, observation. So here I used to say, here we are having totally maybe this data, euro data dot shape. So here we are having 16 observations and 35 parameters. All right, so this is something which is very much important to be noted down when we are speaking about the data. So let's say the client had given you the data. Let's say now here I have many Divyas here. Let's say Divya Kadam, let me take it. Let's say Divya Kadam had given me this data and I wanted to report to Divya Kadam. Now I'm just telling that, hey, thanks for giving this data, Divya Kadam. I'm able to see 16 rows and 35 columns you provided. So this is not something which is making a matured way of explaining the things. So the matured way of explaining things, nothing but, hey, thanks for providing me this data. I'm able to see 16 observations across 35 parameters I'm able to see that. So in that way, we have to speak something with respect to some mature terms. So this is what the terms that we try to use it. Got this point, what I'm saying? Wonderful. Great. Now let's get into this. So now what I wanted to do is nothing but here I'm having this data. Let's say I wanted to filter this team because I'm having 35 columns. I don't want to have 35 columns in my data. Let's suppose I'm just only interested in taking this team and their shooting accuracy and maybe their yellow cards and red cards. So these are all the four features I wanted to take it from this data. So now what I wanted to do, only four features, only four features. So what you can do is nothing but you can go with Euro data. So for data filtering, which bracket you have to use? Because four columns, right? Which bracket you have to use? Data filtering. Even you can just give a dot. There is something called as columns. You can see these columns. These are the different columns. For data filtering, which bracket we have to use? Square bracket. Great. So Euro data, square bracket. Let me take this team. Control C. Let me give it. All right. Now I got this team names. So let me give a comma. And I said their shooting accuracy. Let me copy the shooting accuracy. Let me give a comma. And again, single quotes. Let me give it. But now if I'm executing it, it is going to throw me an error. What is the error? Let's take a reader. You have given two column names. So the point is nothing but if you wanted to filter more than one column, all right. In case if you wanted to filter more than one column, you have to take this information within list. Okay. So let me use another square bracket, here. So now team and shooting accuracy is available within a list. Now see this. Now we have got team and shooting accuracy. Now what is the other thing I've said? I said yellow cards and red cards. Let me copy. Let me give it here. Now should I need to use two other square brackets here? Should I use two other square brackets? Because I've added two more columns, right? No, that's not the point. So the point here is nothing but see this, we got it. So if the columns, if it is more than one, we try to take it within list and we try to display it here. Right. And one more point also to be noted, when we are going with this data filtering, you can also do this data filtering by using this operator, that is year of data. Using dot operator also you can do the filtering. So dot, you can see this tab button, you can just use this functions, and also dot, you can use this team, 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 you can do this. Using this dot operator also you can do the filtering. But the point here is nothing, but if you're going with this dot operator, if you're doing this filtering part, you can't filter more than one column. Let's say you wanted to filter team, comma, and also you wanted to filter the shooting accuracy, what we mentioned, shooting accuracy. Shooting space accuracy. It is going to throw in error, invalid syntax. All right. So the point here is nothing, but if you can do this filtering, because if you see some scripts, they will be using this dot operator also. Dot is nothing, but again, it's used for data. It can be also used for data filtering, but you can filter only one column. So it's up to us to go for data filtering by using any dot operator you can use or square bracket you can use. It's up to us to use it. But it's better to know that there is something called as dot operator, which can be also used for doing data filtering process. Able to understand? So now, so filtering has been done. Okay, filtering part we are good with it. Now the next part is nothing, but let's say I wanted to filter. Okay, so this part we have done it. So now this data, let me store it into one variable called as, let's say, hero filtered data. Okay, let me store it into hero filter data. Right. Now here, I just wanted to display the teams. Let's say yellow cards. So here 9, 7, 4, 5, 6. Now I just wanted to display the team names which has got more yellow cards. Let's say this Italy has been displayed first, and this 12 is the second number. Basically, I have to sort it. I have to sort this data based on yellow cards, sorting exercise. So what you can do, again, Euro filter data. Again, we have already used this function called as sort underscore values. It is a function. So open and close parenthesis, shift triple tap if you give it. Now we are able to see all these functions, because if you're going with chain methods, after the first function, you won't be able to see all the arguments which is available inside the functions. So that's why I just opened this on another tab, and we had seen what are all the arguments available with the sort values. So now I'm trying to use sort values as the first function. In case if you're using other than this function continuously, you won't be able to see this. Other functions, deviates. Now sort values the first function, I'm able to say ascending is equal to true. Now let me copy. If I'm just pasting it inside, okay, again, it is going to throw me an error, because sort values by which column? By is something compulsory. Sorting one required positional argument by. By which column you have to sort it? Let me copy. See this? It should be a string, right? So by which column I have to sort it? Is equal to yellow cards. Yellow cards. Control C. If I'm giving Asana is equal to, see this, 4, 4, 5, 6, that's how it is getting displayed. But I don't want, I wanted to display in a descending order. Italian need to be come first. So I'm just setting this to false. All right. Now I'm able to see Italy, Portugal, Spain, Croatia. So this is what the value got sorted out. Got it, everyone? Filtering and sorting. Is that part clear? All right, great. Now my next question. So again, if you let me look into Euro filter data, here we have sorted. Right here we have sorted. Italy has come first, Portugal, and everything. Now I'm just seeing this filter data outside. See this? Croatia, Again, it did not get impacted to the original data. Now, what mistake we have done, or we can say what blunder we have done? Reassign to the variable. Great, not assigned to the origin. So this part we have done it, but we have not given to this variable. We just sorted it. Great, Buddha. So ERO filter data. To this data, we have to give it over there. So now we have given it. Now if we are seeing this outside, now see this 16, 12, 11, 9, everything got sorted. So this is one way which we have learned already. But now let us try to use some other argument here. Now what I'll do, let me again, I'm just executing this cell because I want to use something. Let me run it because this ERO filter data need to be a new thing. It got done. So now if I'm looking onto this ERO filter data, still it is 97. Okay, it is not arranged properly. So in case if you wanted to give to this assign to the variable to impact, that also you can do. Or let me copy this. Or what you can do, let me paste it within this particular sort values function. Let me give a comma. You're having something called as in place, which is set to false. Just take a read on it. Okay, in place. Just try to take it, sort the values by either an axis. So what we'll do, in place. If true, perform operation in place. That is nothing but, let's say the default one is false, which means that it will never impact the original data. So it will just display it here. Sort values, it will just display it here. When I'm seeing this ERO filter data outside, it will never get impacted. So it's still Croatia is coming first. But here, Italy has come first because yellow cards is 16. So what I do, if I'm setting in place is equal to true, okay, let me set in place equal to true. This is just a future warning message, which we can ignore it later. But now this operation got executed. Now if I'm seeing zero filter data outside, see this, it got impacted 16, 12, 11, 9, 9 and everything. So the point here is nothing but you can go with any ways again. In case if you're finding out this particular in place option, sorry, in place argument, we can make use of it. So some function comes up with this in place argument. Some function, it does not come up with in place argument. In that case, you can try to store it to the original variable so that it is going to impact it. In case if it is already available, we can try to make use of it. Even if it is already available, if you are reassigning to a variable, that is not a problem. It's up to us the way how we are writing the script. Able to understand the point? Filtering is nothing but filter the data, what data you wanted to take. Here from the 35 columns, I just want 4 columns, right? So filtering. I think I have answered this question to Bhuta. Yes, Bhuta, I think so. He left the meeting. Yes. All right. So this is all about the second exercise, filtering and sorting. So again, you can do a lot of other filtering exercise also, but again, I'm just trying to introduce you that the different ways of uh, exercise that we can do it over here. So this is what this chapter 2 is all about. Okay, how we can perform this data filtering. All right. Now what we can do up to this, is it all clear? Once confirming. Everyone, I think Harsh, Jyoti is responding. What about others? Ilavati. Okay, Srisha. All right. Great, Julie. So now what we will do, let's try to complete the small chapters. So what is that? Sort values is nothing but I wanted to sort by which columns. So I just mentioned by yellow cards. So by yellow cards, I am sorting it down. So and I'm just by which particular columns I have to do. I just mentioned it there. That's it. All right. Now out of this, let's try to take some small chapters. Let's say we'll try to go with this delete chapter. This particular chapter, let's try to use chapter 10. This particular chapter in this chapter, let's take it. It is a very small chapter to do. So delete exercise, let's try to take it. So this is in place equal to true. It is going to impact your original data. So the operation what you're going to perform in order to impact your original data, I'm using in place equal to true. You can just give a keyword like impact to impact the original data. That's it. Chapter 3 is nothing but delete. Okay. So let's say, let me take this Euro data itself, Euro 2012. So here you're having this particular data. Let's say this is another way of filtering. Let's say you wanted to delete shots on target column. Okay, you wanted to remove the shots on target from this column. So what you can do is nothing but there is one keyword called as delete. Delete is a keyword, and then your data set name Euro 2012, and then you can data filtering, right? So you can just go square bracket, and you can give shots on target. Let me copy this. Sorry, within this, let me paste it. Or shots on target. Now I have executed this. Now let me see Euro 2012. See this shots on target column deleted. So to delete one column at once, you can go with this delete keyword. Now my next question is nothing but how do I go and delete multiple columns? Let's say from this, I want to delete this goals and shots off target. Is it possible? See this, delete Euro 2012 square bracket. That is, I will be deleting goals, Control C, goals, comma, add deleting shots off target, Control C, shots off target. Now if I'm executing it, it is giving me an error. Okay, now we learned it from the last session, sorry, last chapter, that if it is more than one, we have to give it within list. Let me also try to give it within list. I've taken these two columns inside list, right? Now again, this is not going to work. It is going to throw you an error. Why? Because you can't drop multiple columns by using this delete keyword. Okay, so by using delete keyword, you can drop only one column at once. Now my goal is nothing but how do I go and drop multiple columns at the same time? So for that reason, you have to use something called as Hero 2012. All right, so just delete it. Let it be here itself. Delete. Let it be here. You can use Euro 2012 data dot. Again, you can use some function called as drop. Okay, drop. Delete, you can't do that, Jolie. You can't do that. Delete is only used to drop the columns. We will come back to that anyway. So drop is a function. Here, if you're saying this, here I'm having labels. Okay. Drop specified labels from rows or columns. So by using this drop, you can do that. So now let me say labels is equal to none. So now here you can just give this particular two columns. What are the two columns? Goals and shots of target. Let me copy, come back here. Let me paste it. Since again it is a problem. Why it is a problem? Because goals and shots of target not found in axis. So here we are coming to know something about axis. Now what is this axis? Let me give a comma. Here we are able to something called as axis. Now what is this axis? I want to understand. Let me scroll down. Axis. Axis, the default axis is nothing but 0. It is set to 0. Let me copy. Default argument. Okay, it is 0. Now 0 is nothing but what? It is index. It is going to drop. Index is nothing but your rows. It is going to drop your rows. If I'm setting it to 1, it is going to drop your columns. Now we have to choose whether we are going to drop the index or columns. Now what we are interested to drop? Are we interested to drop this goals complete column or any observations within that? What do you see? Our interest is it to drop columns or rows? Complete column. So this axis need to be replaced by 1. All right. So now let me give this great one. Let me give this 1. Now it got deleted. See this? Goals and shots off target, it got deleted. And also one more point, in case if you're using drop function, here you're using x equal to 1 because only the column names comes up with this goals. To drop observations or rows, there is another way which you have to go. But again, we use drop functions. Mostly we try to drop multiple columns at once. That's what the point. Right. So now we have used this drop method to drop multiple columns at the same time. Now my next point is nothing but let me see Euro data outside. Still this goals and shots off target is available. What is a mistake or blunder that we have done? We have not assigned to the original data, or let me try to find, is there anything like in place argument? Yes, great answer. In place I'm able to have, right? Let me try to use this. In place equal to false. I did not impact the original data. Now let me set it to true. Now let me see this. Now it has gone. Goals and shots off target has gone. So this is how I can drop one column at once and multiple columns at once. So to drop one column at once, we can go with the drop, and to drop multiple columns at the same time, we can use this. To drop one column at once, you can go with the delete. Even here, by using drop, also you can delete one column. So, but I've just introduced you to some new way of deleting. That is by using delete keyword, how to drop one column. By using drop, how we can drop multiple columns at the same time. That's what this exercise here. So that's the end of this chapter 3. Got it, everyone? Chapter 3. Is it clear? All right. Let me copy this cell since I'm just selecting it. C, only C I'm just giving it. Let me scroll down. These are all the few shortcuts which you've already learned. Now I'm just selecting this cell. V I'm giving it. So below the current cell, this line got pasted. So now let me create a new one. The last chapter for today. Again, it's going to be a very quick chapter. It is creating series and data frame. All right. Let me get back here. Chapter 4. Creating series and data frame. So it is nothing but the point to be noted here is nothing but I just made it as a markdown cell here. Pandas is having 2 data structures. So we learned in Python is having 4 data structures like list, sets, tuples, and dictionaries. Now we are discussing about pandas. Now pandas is having 2 data structures. All right. One is nothing but one-dimensional data structure. We call it a series. And the 2-dimensional data structure of pandas, we call it as data frame. All right. Data frame. One dimension, that is, let's say you're trying to take some values. Here, Harsh has got some scores. Harsh scores is equal to, let me take it like scored 98, 99, 100, 99, 100. So this is what Harsh scores. Now, what is the data type of Harsh scores here? What is the data type of Harsh scores? List. It is a list. Now what I'm doing, I'm just going to use grid one. Pandas dot, here we are having something called a series. It is a function, so if you read it, it's a one-dimensional ND array with the axis label. So we will be getting the label also, 0th index and first index, including time series. Now this data, let me copy. And what type of thing we have to give it with respect to this data? Let me scroll down. It should be array-like or iterable. We can give dictionary or a scalar. Content data stored in a dictionary. So now it is an array, right? It is an array like we are able to have it. So let me data is equal to, let me give this Harsh course. Now we are able to see along with the index, we are able to have the answer. Now let me see this. Now it is Harsh course 2. Let me take it like this. Now I want to know what is the type of this Harsh course 2. It is nothing but type of, it is, now it has become series. Along with it's a one-dimensional data structure. It will just display either column or rows, anything we can consider, but more than one column, it will never take it. That's what this pandas is all about. It's pandas series. Now, how we can create a two-dimensional data structure? PD dot by using this data frame. All right. So here we are having data, and we learned it already. How we have to give it? It should be in a dictionary format. So what we do? Data is equal to. Let me create a dictionary here. Dictionary need to be created as a key and value pair. So let me create like f name column. Let me give Srisha. Come on. Let's say name. Let me give it Srisha and also Jyoti. Okay. Key and value. The next pair is, let's say age. It is 23, 22, something. So we got it. So two-dimensional rows and columns we got it. So pandas is having two data structures. One-dimensional data structure we call it a series, and two-dimensional data structure of pandas we call it as a data frame. Able to understand this point? All right. So that's the end of today's session. All right. So totally 4 chapters we discussed it. Let me do a recap. Let me stop sharing my screen. So we discussed about 4 chapters today. One is one is getting and knowing your data more, and we have got this particular order details data set, and we understood how to perform initial investigation on the data, and then we understood about what is the difference between meaningful insight and just an insight, and then we got into this chapter 2, which is nothing but filtering and sorting exercise. There we learned about how to filter the data, how to sort the data, and everything we learned it. That is one of the type. Okay, there is a lot of other ways how we can filter your data. Only one type I've just explained it, just to make sure we can do this filtering part. And thirdly, we discussed about this delete chapter, how to delete one column at once and multiple column at once. And then we finally discussed about pandas data structures. One is one-dimensional data structure of pandas, and the other one is two-dimensional data structure of pandas. Any questions up to this? You can just ask me now. If there is no questions, you can just give NQ or ND on the chat box. We can wind up the session now. Can I get a quick response from everyone on the chat box? Rishikesh, no questions. All right. Pavani, no questions. Jyoti understood well. Harsh, no doubt. Dr. Veera. All right. Thank you so much, Veera. Astush, wonderful. Anil, understood, sir. Thank you. Yes, Leelavati, take care. Fine then. Hope our learning pace is going good. Yes, Sai Durga. So let's be back at the same time tomorrow, 7 to 9 o'clock. And we are again going to work for one more day on this pandas exercise, and then we will move on to statistics part. Okay, let's keep learning. Take care, yes, Supriya, take care. Let's meet tomorrow at the same time, 7 o'clock. Take care, everyone. Good night. Bye-bye.